I think it has to be done because you're under pressure and you have to have it completed by the end of the year. That's why it has to be done. I don't think at 5 to 11 at night time is an appropriate place to tease out the nuances of this legislation. It should have been done at committee level with submissions from the various organisations in teasing this out. And I am left in with no choice but to push an amendment. If you tell me it's imperfect, I accept that, but that is the best I could do, and it is the best that the senators could do in the Senate. And if I keep repeating and you keep repeating, that's not teasing out issues. That's not a teasing out, that's repetition on my part and your part. So what are the issues? The issues have been set out by no more august organisation than the European Commission, who produce regular communications from the Commission. And if we look at September 20, they told us there was an analysis of the effect of criminalising humanitarian organisations. And I'll just jump to the back of it first to put it in perspective. In their policy recommendation, under that heading, NGOs and individuals in the EU providing, so NGOs and individuals, which my amendment tries to capture, in the EU providing humanitarian assistance to migrants have expressed growing concerns over recent years. Rescue operations at sea, and these are ones mandated by law, rescue operations at sea, as well as support given to migrants on the move, be it at borders or within the territory of a member state, are reportedly carried out in the context of tension with national or local authorities, with rescuers and volunteers fearing undue administrative pressure and sanctions. Now, I'm reading from the Commission's communication to us, and then they point out, in a resolution on the issue, the European Parliament called on member states to transpose the humanitarian assistance exemption provided for in the Facilitation Directive, which you're trying to transpose through this Act. Recalling that the EU law does not intend to criminalise humanitarian assistance, the Commission has taken stock of the situation since the evaluation of the facilitators package. In light of this, the Commission invites members that have not already done so to use the possibility provided for in Article 1(2) of the Facilitation Directive, which allows them to distinguish between activities carried out for the purpose of humanitarian assistance and activities that aim to facilitate, to distinguish between that and activities that aim to facilitate irregular entry and transit. Now, there's the communication. It goes on to raise other issues in what has happened in relation to the chilling effect when countries pass legislation and don't make an exemption for humanitarian organisations or people acting on foot of humanitarian reasons. And then if we go to the human rights, the Irish Human Rights and Equality Commission, they say, in practice, so the provision for humanitarian assistance as a defence rather than an exemption is not in accordance with international recommendations. In practice, it means that a person acting on behalf of a bona fide organisation or for humanitarian purposes will likely be charged with an offence, and at that stage it was a different section, Section 5, and thereafter it will be for that person to prove their innocence. Accordingly, this will likely have a chilling effect on people providing assistance to people seeking international protection. Now, that's not me. That's the Commission on foot of their analysis. And then if we look back at the EU's response to refugees, and Deputy Durkan was looking at this in terms of borders. So the first major action by the EU was in terms of the plan 2015 to 20 after Syria and after other issues at the time. And the emphasis was on the importance of the EU member states effectively tackling the offence by sharing information and gathering information. We weren't even doing that at the time. And then it became part of the European agenda. And this on migration, that action plan did, and this is what I want to get to. They set out 4 pillars in that European agenda. Reducing the incentives and root causes for irregular immigration. Never been tackled, never been done. Enhancing border control through smarter borders, certainly been done as we build up to a 10,000 man and woman Frontex border. I won't call it army, but certainly, I don't know, Deputy Kenny might help me with the word, but 10,000 people in the organisation called Frontex. So we're certainly working on building up the borders around Europe. And then rethinking and better implementing the common European asylum policy and we failed to do that as well. I could go on and on. And so what I'm saying here is, on the one hand, there's very good language about protecting asylum seekers and refugees and migrants and putting them at the heart of the justice policy in the EU. On the other hand, the reality is people are drowning in the Channel Islands, in the Channel, in the Mediterranean and elsewhere. And all the time we're building up the body that will protect the borders. And what I'm simply asking here is that we protect the humanitarian organisations and we comply with our legal obligations under Europe to protect people who are acting for humanitarian reasons to help somebody. And we're not doing that with this. And we're being forced into a situation to accept a piece of legislation that is far from perfect. The amendment might be far from perfect, but it will do less damage than what the legislation is going to do with its chilling effect. And as the Minister rushes to write a note and talk about the fact that we're not catching smugglers, I fully understand the challenge. The challenge was we had, the reason why we have legislation that wasn't suitable from 21 years ago, we didn't change it, we didn't work on it, we didn't collect any information, which I'll be coming back to with the other amendments. Very, very basic recommendations from the Irish Human Rights and Equality Commission telling us that there's an absence of basic data, there's an absence of a focus on the rights of people who are being smuggled and so on. But specifically to this, it's on the humanitarian exemption. I understand France has done it, not perfectly. That's also listed in these various documents. I'm not sure what other countries have done it. Again, that was the role for the Justice Committee. That was the role. That's where this should have all been teased out. And your anxieties in relation to not having a legislation that's strong enough to catch the smugglers should have been all teased out. In the absence of that, I am pressing my motion, my amendment.